Hello, everybody, and welcome to Monday's edition of Big Blue Kickoff Live, presented by Cadillac, the official luxury vehicle of the New York Football Giants. Off the bye week, John Schmeelk, Paul Dottino with you, taking your calls at 201-939-4513. The Giants have made a quarterback change. We talked about it last week. We'll get into all the details, but first, let's allow the head coach of the Giants, Brian Daboll, to give us the details.
So we're making a quarterback switch here from Daniel, and we're going to go with Tommy. I spoke with all the quarterbacks this morning before our morning meeting. Let them know with the direction that we're going. Those are never easy conversations. Got a lot of respect for all three of those guys. After evaluating a bunch of things and looking at a lot of tape, and being around Tommy last year where he created a little bit of a spark for us, that's the reason why we're going with Tommy. Drew will be the backup. Continue to work with him. He's been nothing but a pro, and as was Daniel. So it's never an easy conversation to have with the players, but felt like this was a necessary move for us, and look forward to working with Tommy and getting him ready to go against Tampa.
All right, I didn't have time to cut up much else from what he said over the course of that presser, Paul. He kind of said what he wanted to say, didn't get into much more detail when he was asked follow-up questions. He was asked how much the injury guarantee for next year had to do with it, didn't really give an answer on that. He asked why Tommy DeVito instead of Drew Lock, said he just thought DeVito could provide a bit of a spark and he liked what he's done. Said nothing negative about Drew Lock, and Drew Lock's going to be the backup, as he said, but they thought Tommy DeVito was the way to go at this particular time. The conversations with the three guys was difficult, obviously. It's never easy when you're taking a starting job away from people. And I think those were most of the follow-ups and the specific details in terms of where a lot of those follow-up questions came from. And he was asked if they said they stuck with Daniel previously because he gave the team the best chance to win. Is that why you're making the change now? And he said, yes, we're looking for a spark from Tommy to see if we can get the game going and win some games.
Yeah, I think the only thing additional that I might add from Coach's comments, because most of what he was asked as they tried to go through different angles of this decision, he said would remain private. The conversations with the players, with the staff,
ownership,
with the front office, and ownership as well. So that stuff basically was off limits to the presser. But I do think it was important. Daboll spent a lot of time with DeVito every week last year when DeVito was an undrafted rookie free agent throughout the season.
And he did say he's still doing it. Not as much as last year because of the play calling duties, but yes.
He's still been doing that, and he felt that both Locke and DeVito had done well during the practice sessions working with the scout team this season, and also that DeVito, in addition to providing a spark, had done well in the meeting rooms. So they're anxious to see, and I believe that Tommy DeVito has shown Brian Daboll enough that he's intrigued by his potential upside. I don't know where that ceiling is, John, but I got the impression that Brian Daboll doesn't know where that ceiling is either, and maybe it's the unknown of that upside that has also got him kind of, wanting to scratch that itch and see how far can Tommy go after being 3-3 as a starter last year?
Hey, look, Brian Daboll is going to talk about it because he's a football coach trying to win games. That's how his decision-making process is working here with the way he's met with the coaches. We can have a little bit of a different conversation. Drew Lock's a free agent after the year. Right. All right? And right now they're 2-8. Tommy DeVito, you can bring him back as an exclusive rights free agent. So if you think that maybe he can be your backup next year, you want to give him as much playing time to see if you think he can be the same conversation we had then last year, right? Whether or not you stick with Tommy,
right,
or go somewhere else, and you want to figure out if he can be the backup. So I'm sure that has played into part of it too. And look, the reality, we know what Daniel's contract situation is in terms of why he's 3 instead of 2. Look, you don't have to be a math major to figure that part out.
No, that's part of the business of the game. And when you make football decisions, business does have to be part of that equation. Now, in reference to enhance what you just said, John, I think most of us believed that Tommy DeVito belonged on a 53-man roster as a number 3, and that if the Giants had not kept him, he would have been claimed. I think we pretty much all believe that because he'd proven enough to say that he belonged in the NFL. Now the question is, as the Giants go forward, can he prove enough to make them believe that maybe next year, again, not putting a ceiling on him, but can you at least feel comfortable with him maybe being as high as a number 2 in 2025?
Correct. And I think that's what you want to find out as you move forward here.
You might as well get that answer now if you can.
Nothing, he said, injury-wise. The guys that were banged up look like they're in pretty good shape. He said there's a chance that Kayvon Thibodeau could be back after the bye. Now, he didn't say this week, but he said there's a chance he could be back at some point after the bye. So the question was about this week. He answered it very vaguely and didn't
he
get
said
into
they would
detail about
evaluate.
it.
They're all going to be out there at the walkthrough today.
We'll see. Well, he said the guys that are physically able to be out there will be out there. So he did not comment specifically on Thibodeau in terms of that. So just something to keep in mind moving forward in terms of that. I had prepared like a full bye week scouting report, self-scout thing. I'll put that on hold for now. I'll get to that with Matt tomorrow, though I'm sure you'll still want to talk about the quarterback stuff. And look, just in general, Paul, we talk, and then we'll get to your calls. We want to make sure we give you guys plenty of time to get in and talk about this today. We talked about it last week. If you were going to make a move like this, this was one of the 2 windows to do it. It was either now or it was after the Thanksgiving game, because you have 2 full weeks, you have an extra day of practice in there, walkthroughs or whatever, to make something like this happen. You could actually have a fully, good practice on Wednesday here because you've had all this time off since the last week.
Yes.
So you can do that sort of thing this week if you decide you want to do it. So this was one of the windows for it to make sense. And in terms of Daniel, look, both of us thought with a much better situation around him, and I don't think either of us would argue the situation around him this year is probably the best it's been in terms of protection, weapons, things like that.
Execution wasn't, but in terms of the setup, it was.
We thought that would yield a better performance. It didn't, to the extent that it needed to for him to stick in the job. We had stretches of better performances, 3 or 4 game stretches, better on the road than at home, but it wasn't sustained enough and good enough week to week. The team was still, look, I said before the year, Paul, I believe it was ESPN, Mike Clay, is there an NFL guy that does this every year?
I'm not sure.
Travis Clay. He predicted that the Giants would have the worst offense in the league. And I scoffed at it. I said, I think that's ridiculous.
No kidding.
And I said, I don't see how that's possible.
He based this on numbers or just on numbers?
He's a very statistical-based person. And I thought he was crazy. And I said it on the show. I said, I think that's nuts. That's where we are right now in terms of points per game. Now, there's a bunch of other metrics that are better, and I'll get into that with the self-scout when we get into it.
Right.
But you are where you are. And it would be much more difficult to make this decision if you're 4-6 than if you're 2-8. But 2-8, scoring fewer points than any other team in the league, and it's not just the quarterback, but the quarterback's the most important player on the field. It makes it easier to make this decision the way you did this week.
Well, I think if we were to bring Daniel in here right now and talk to him, he would tell you he did not play as well during this season than he did in 2022. And let's face it, that was the best year of his career so far in the NFL, and the Giants were going to need at least the 2022 Jones to show up.
And that's the
he
thing.
Did not do it.
And we talked about this, Paul, when they decided to give him the long-term extension, and we don't have to relitigate balancing Saquon's tag with his long-term deal and figuring out one or the other.
Well, it was based on 22.
Yeah, but we even said at the time, for that contract to be worth it, he would have to continue to improve from 2022. 2022 was your floor.
That was the basis.
It was supposed to be your floor for him to continue to get better. Under Daboll, you get better pieces around him, better protection. He continued to improve as a quarterback.
Yeah.
And we haven't seen that.
No. Look, everybody knows.
And we love Daniel. He's a great guy. We all want him to succeed. But look.
No question. And it would have been better for everybody all around had this worked out that way.
But the first 10 games are the first 10 games.
It did not.
It is what it is.
And in a what have you done for me lately situation, which is what athletics always comes down to. What have you done for me lately? It has not been the 2022 or better Jones. It has been a substandard, inconsistent Jones. And that's where we are.
And it's problems that, like just missing open receivers, bad ball location and placement. It's stuff that hadn't popped up before. You know what I mean? Where like some of the issues are different than they were before. Anyway, let's get to your calls. 201-939-4513. Hashtag Giants Chat. Giants Huddle Podcast, folks. Nothing's up there now. That's new from last week. I think Papa's Perspective is the last thing that's up there. So you can check that out if you haven't. But I'm going to do a little spot with Chris Bisignano from Giants Insider. I'm going to record that this afternoon. Talk about the move, where the Giants are now. That'll probably go up tomorrow morning. So make sure you go check that out. Or maybe even this afternoon. We'll see if Pearson can get it up this afternoon. He's on an Eli Manning shoot. I'm not sure if he's back yet. But if he is, and he has time, maybe we'll try to get that up this afternoon. All right, now let's get to your calls. Giants app, Giants.com/podcast. By the way, just search for Giants Huddle or Giants Podcast Network on your favorite podcast platform. All right, Wilson, you're going to lead us off today, my friend. What's up? Wilson. Hello, Wilson. Do you have broadcast pumped in on the little white box there? Yeah. Going once. Wilson. Going twice. Wilson. Wilson.
Too busy making a hero sandwich, I think.
Yeah, I don't even hear anything on the other line. That's weird. All right, appreciate the call, Wilson. Do me a favor, Dom, just unplug that white box and plug it back in. A lot of times that works in case audio's not going through. That happens sometimes. And we'll try to get the calls back up here at 201-939-4513.
Hey, well, the phone rings. At least we know that's
Well,
working.
yeah, but that was working before, too. So.
Okay. Electronics can be a funny thing.
Yeah, that doesn't really help.
Hey, so anyway, Giants playing Tampa Bay on Sunday at MetLife Stadium. And the Buccaneers, by the way, are also coming off their bye week. So it'll be very interesting as they start to prepare. They found out, as we did this morning, that the Giants are going to go with Tommy DeVito as the starting quarterback. Now, one thing that Brian Daboll added, and it's just kind of, again, the ancillary comments about this whole thing, is that he didn't just think that the spark that DeVito provided the offense and the fan base, was the limitation there. He said he thought that when DeVito played last year, remember he won 3 games for this team, that the entire team was energized and sparked by DeVito. So that's another element that Daboll is perhaps looking to draw upon as the Giants come back home for a game. They're not on the road this week. They're home. And look, I may be wrong here, but I know that from the calls on this show and from the tweets that we've gotten over the course of time, Tommy DeVito has a bit of a cult hero following. He's a Jersey guy. He's a Paisan, has a lot of folks who gravitate to those elements. And I think we would all admit last year, John, that while the Giants had a very disappointing season, Tommy DeVito gave us all a shot in the arm last year with the elements and the entertainment value that he did bring to the year.
He also won 3 straight games, which is the real entertainment value.
Yes, he did.
All right, Coach Marvin, is that who's up here? Dom? Coach Marvin, what's going on? We should be good now.
How you guys doing?
We're good, Coach.
Hey, Coach.
And by the way, Wilson, call back. If you call back, I'll make sure we get you right up. Go ahead, Coach.
I was surprised I got in before Wilson because I was wondering what he was going to say.
Well, he fumbled the ball away, Coach.
No, that wasn't Wilson's fault. That was on
ours?
us. That was on us.
Oh, we fumbled it away.
We got it fixed.
Okay.
Yeah. Because I know how tough they are on the on Daniel. This is not a happy, cheerful day. This is still a sad day. Somebody lost their job, and again, it's not anything I'm celebrating.
Yeah, Coach, it's a bad thing for the organization. Like great.
Yeah.
I know some people are excited about it's a fresh start, and that's great. I know people are excited about that, but having the fresh start's the easy part. Finding your next quarterback is the hard part.
That's right.
Right.
That's right. That's definitely right, because all it can do is repeat itself at times. So it's not easy to find certain types of players to turn a franchise around. These guys are not just hanging out there. You can pick a quarterback, and that's going to be the one. You don't know until he gets in the building. So it's not a happy day. It was something I did anticipate would happen. I tell you, I'm going to say it again, and Daniel just didn't anticipate enough, and ball placement. A lot of passes that were thrown behind, but he had his good moments. It wasn't like he was a total failure. He had some good moments. He just didn't have enough of those good moments more than the failures, in case I could say. I don't know if that's the right word, but he just didn't do enough good to cover up the bad stuff.
Yeah.
But the DeVito, I thought about this about 3 weeks ago. If they did make a change, that's where I would have went. Because I've seen Luck. I know what he is. And DeVito, I think Paul was the one saying about the shot in the arm. I remember those moments and the feelings. I was like, give the kid a chance. Let him go out there and play. More of a decent offensive line. Tracy's running the ball pretty good. It looks like a little better team than the one he was behind last year. So let him get behind him and see what happens. And that's all they can do. And I had a feeling this was coming. So,
hey, Coach, one thing that Daboll did add, and it's a small part of the percentage, I'm sure.
And appreciate the call, Coach. Thank you.
When you calculated what you wanted to do, he said that you're certainly going to tweak things a little bit to try to make use of what DeVito does best, as well as implementing a game plan that will work against Tampa. But, John, between the two guys, Lock and DeVito, DeVito's more mobile than Drew Lock.
Yeah, I agree with that.
And so maybe some of that mobility factor that you did have in the Jones version of the game plan will stay.
Yeah,
he does. DeVito version.
He doesn't have the arm that Drew Lock has, but yes,
No.
he is more mobile. That is true.
So,
all right, Wilson got back in. Wilson, what's going on, pal?
Hey, Johnny, Paulie.
What's up, buddy?
hi.
Hey, Paulie, listen, Johnny, I'm going to be controversial, but what the hell, man? It's like I'm beyond upset. I just forget it now. We are, forget about the worst team in the NFL, which we not, but we play like we are. But this franchise now is like Cartoon Network, Johnny. I mean, look, and Daniel, I'm not going to feel bad, ever going to feel bad about a young man that makes $40 million a year playing football, because I have to bust my hump, to pay for my mortgage, and I had to bust my hump.
Of course.
To help my kids make it to college. It's not about money. It's not about money. But what they done to this kid, to me, to make him the fall guy. I know that he didn't play good. I know that. But Brian Daboll, I don't believe in Brian Daboll, and hopefully he'll be gone.
Yeah, but Wilson, in fairness, they gave him a lot. No, real quick, Wilson. They did give him They gave him 10 games this year. They didn't pull him after 2 games. They didn't pull him after 4 games. They gave him 10 games.
Johnny, can I add something?
Sure.
You said that the 2022 was the floor, and he was supposed to go up, right?
Yeah.
Last year, he almost got killed.
No, Wilson, I am throwing last year out. Last year, I'm not even putting into the equation. Last year, I don't care about. I really don't. I don't care about last year at all.
So this year, this guy was coming off a major injury, and he started to get into a rhythm. He was running people over. It's not. I'm just saying that it wasn't all his fault. But you know what? Fine. It
wasn't all his fault. No one should say it's all his fault.
And Coach said the same thing, Wilson.
Right.
Coach said it's everybody's fault.
Paulie, I guess they're all saying, when you have a great player, hey, listen, we can finish last with you. We can finish last without you. So I guess that's fine. They can make a change. But listen. Don't comment on this, Johnny and Paulie, because I don't want you to put you in a bad spot, because you have to see these people every day. So I don't want you to comment, but I'm gonna say something. If this, you know what this move is? This move is to throw a bone to some fan base, because so at least maybe there's a little bit of juice next Sunday against Tampa Bay. Because Tommy DeVito, nothing against the kid, he's a good NFL story. Drew Lock is an NFL quarterback. Backup started what Tommy DeVito is not an NFL quarterback in this league. Everybody knows that. So this is not a football. This is not to win games. If Brian Daboll tells Giants fans that, he's insulting everyone's intelligence, and that's fine. They want to make a little juice because you know what's going to happen. What's going to happen if they get blown out against Tampa and then they get blown out against Dallas? What, is he going to go back to Drew Lock now?
Yeah, probably.
I mean, Jenny, do you understand how crazy that is?
No, but they aren't going back to Drew Lock. They never went to Drew Lock. It
I
isn't back to
understand that,
him.
Jenny, but it's Jenny. Listen, last year he took him out and he took him out. What is it? At halftime against New Orleans because they were getting killed. Then he stars him against. No, it was against Philadelphia. He stars against Philadelphia. He pulls him out at halftime. He put Tyrod Taylor. I mean, when is enough, man? I mean, they are the worst coach team in the NFL. Forget about the head coach. He has the worst defensive coordinator in the NFL. Mike Casca's there just like collecting a paycheck. Want me to keep going?
Well, appreciate.
I mean, come on. When is this guy? When is anybody going to hold this coaching staff accountable for anything? Well, they have no more excuses now. They can't blame Daniel anymore. And another thing, Johnny, before I let go, mark this day what I tell you. Daniel Jones is going to be the starting quarterback for either Cleveland, the Raiders, or Tennessee next year. And I'll take that to the bank.
All right, Wilson. Appreciate the call, my friend. I think Saints and the Panthers are two other possibilities there, too, to be honest with you. Look, he might be. You don't know. And look, Brian Daboll said, this is our fault. Like, he put the onus on him and the coaching staff that it's not just the quarterback's fault. It's everyone's fault, including the coaching staff. Like no one's running from 2-8 here, guys. Like, Joe Shane said it, too, at his press conference last week. He said, no one's blameless, and it starts with me. Correct. He took blame on his shoulders, too.
Correct.
When you're 2-8, that is a organizational team effort. That's not a one-player deal, Wilson, and that's your right. And you seem to think that they're putting all the blame on Daniel. I think they've gone out of their way not to put the whole blame on. People got mad at Joe Shane at his press conference last week for not putting all the blame on the quarterback. So no one's shirking blame from this. I'm not, you said that, they need to take accountability. I mean, I don't know what you want Brian Daboll to do besides say it's our fault.
Yeah, and as far as Tommy goes, Wilson, I think you're being kind of hard on him because considering how raw he was when he got here as an undrafted rookie free agent, and then, was thrust in there after Tyrod Taylor, not only Jones, but Tyrod Taylor had also gotten hurt. That was an incredibly difficult situation for anybody to be put into.
And he did a lot better than I think a lot of us. And look,
right?
He wasn't
Don't
great.
You think so?
No, look, he wasn't great. And fans got mad at me on the postgame show last year. Remember after one of the games I said I didn't think he gave them the best chance to win? I had a lot of Italians from Jersey calling up very upset with me.
Hey, come on now, Johnny.
Very
come on
upset
now.
with me. And look, maybe he could figure out a way to be a good backup quarterback.
He certainly did something last year, and I've said this many times. Over the course of the years, and just go back the last 10 years if you want, and think about how many career backup quarterbacks have had chances to play. The Jake Fromms, the Mike Glennons, the Kyle Laulettas, just some guys who were here in this building. And they had their little moments to give it a shot, and they didn't do what Tommy DeVito did. Correct. Tommy DeVito actually won 3 straight games in a row and beat the Green Bay Packers with a last-minute drive. So however you feel about everything else, Wilson, the only thing that I will come back at you at is don't pick on Tommy DeVito because that's kind of unfair. Maybe he's got a little bit more than you think he does. And I'm going to just say flat out, I believed in the summer he deserved to be on an NFL roster, and I believe that today.
Yeah, last year, guys, in 6 starts, he completed 64% of his passes, 1,100 yards. That's a little bit under 200 yards a game. 8 touchdowns, 3 picks. Like, those are decent numbers. They're halfway decent numbers. They're okay.
And he also ran the ball a little bit.
And he ran the ball a little bit. True. That is correct.
Please don't just totally down and diss Tommy.
Well, he had 195 rushing yards. It's actually more than I thought.
He's going to have a chance now, and hopefully for him, I hope he's able to stay in there. The line protects him and gives him a legitimate chance to put his best football out on the field.
Hey, look, and he talked
whatever that is, it is.
And look, I talked to him in the summer. If you guys want to go back and listen to the quarterback episode we did, he feels so much more comfortable now than he did back then. I think he feels a lot better about how he's going to be able to play, too. So we'll see if that translates to the football field. We'll see.
Right. So take a wait-and-see attitude on Tommy. Don't be dissing him right now, okay?
Let's go to Vinny in Pennsylvania. Vinny, you're up next, pal.
What's going on, guys? How are you?
What's up, Vin?
Hi.
Yo, John, I don't know if you remember me, Vinny from PA. I used to call in all the time.
Of course, Vin.
Our last season.
It's good to hear from you, man.
It's been a while. Listen, I'm still watching all the time. Big shout out to Paul. Listen, here's my comment.
Yep.
Am I happy we're benching our starting quarterback that we gave up Saquon Barkley for? Absolutely not. Am I excited for the future? Absolutely yes. Now I have something to look forward to for the rest of the season, and it just came up on my fantasy football crew that we might buy tickets to go down to Philly just to try to get a Tommy DeVito cutlet sandwich. So I'm excited and moving forward. We'll see what this kid does. Sad to see Daniel Jones go. Listen, Schumer drafted him. That's about all I can say about it. A 1-year coach. He was with the Eagles forever. It's funny how it went down. Schumer drafted this kid out of Duke. I was never a big fan of that move. Listen,
the GM drafts the player, not the coach. Just hold on. The GM drafts the player.
Now, I'm sure Schumer's recommendation in the meeting
I'm sure he had something to do with it. And by the way, Vinny, just so you know, we got a lot of paisans here in New Jersey. You want a chicken cutlet sandwich? You don't have to go to Philadelphia to get one. You can get them in Jersey too.
Of course, I know that. But I'll be honest with you, I got to shout out my old man because he does make the best eggplant Parmesan sandwiches
nice.
around. But that's the story, though. I mean, I'm glad to see the Giants are moving forward. I like our head coach. Last year, part of the defense was my man Love. He's not with us this year. It kind of... we're kind of missing that dynamic as well. It's not all the kid Daniel's fault. He did take, in my opinion, too much money off the cap. I think moving forward, if we have some players that are investing in the best for the team instead of their pocket, I'll be excited. But, hey, guys, thanks so much. I'll keep listening to the show. And maybe next year, if we get something going, John, I'll call him with some rhymes, all right?
I love it, Vin. Oh, that's right, the Vinny rhymes. I forgot about the Vinny rhymes. That's right. Good stuff, Vin.
Well,
Appreciate
John,
it, dude.
you remember that?
I do remember the rhymes now. Absolutely. I do remember that now.
I'll tell you, your favorite line was this. When I said something about Quest Diagnostics and Henry Hinoceros. I don't know if you remember that rhyme.
Oh, my goodness.
I don't. That's fantastic.
Johnny, listen, Paulie, listen. I used to tell your boy Lance that whole season that we were going to win it. I knew it. We had the dynamic. We had the veteran leadership. That's the type of things I think right now we need to start working on. A little bit more veteran leadership and just guys that buy into the team and perhaps not their pocket. You know what I mean? But I got love for the Giants. Listen, it was sad to watch them lose Saquon on Hard Knocks. You know, clearly John didn't want that to happen, you know, the ownership. But, you know, like I said, look, I'm a huge fan. I'm going to keep watching. I'm ready for the Giants to move forward. And I really do want a Tommy DeVito cutlet sandwich.
It sounds good, man. I appreciate it,
family.
Man.
Good stuff, Vinny. Good stuff.
I'm sure you can find his family does a huge tailgate. I'm sure you guys can find.
Yeah,
it
they do. They do.
All you gotta do is find the Stellato fancy suit, and then you can find
and
the
follow the smell of your nose. You'll eventually get there.
Look, I'm not. This is not. It's not completely inaccurate, but I think it's a little too simple. It wasn't that they picked Daniel over Saquon. Like they tried to give Saquon a long-term deal 2 years ago, and he decided not to take it.
More than once.
Which was, frankly, if not the same size, bigger than what he got from Philly this year, and he decided to wait. Remember, Saquon then had a change in agent representation and stuff like that. Then you got to last year, and you're a year older. It's harder every year a running back gets older, it's harder to give them a long-term contract. And I know a lot of people think that the reason the Giants are worse this year is because Saquon is here. Guys, since Tyrone Tracy became the full-time running back, the Giants, though, look at any metric you want, they have like the fifth or sixth best running game in football.
He has 3 100-yard games and 6 starts to where, well, not starts, but the 6 games where he's been the primary back.
You look at like his explosive play rate, his broken tackle rate.
Doing really well.
Like all his numbers are good. Like the lack of a running game is not the reason why the Giants are struggling right now.
Right.
It's not, and that's just it. And I get that's the dynamic that's been created between the two of those guys. That was one or the other, but that's not. I get why you look at it that way, but that's not altogether 100% accurate either. So, Charlie in Portland, Maine. Hi, Charlie. Let's be a little look. In a lot of ways, Charlie ended up being right. So let's be a little bit gracious here, Paul.
Hello,
okay?
Charlie.
Okay. Gracious, Paul and Charlie. Charlie, why don't we be a little gracious on your end too? Okay.
Oh, happy day.
That's not the way to start off this call.
When Gomer Jones is gone, he walks away. Look, it took 5.5 years. I kind of told y'all he wasn't the guy. And finally, they realized he wasn't the guy. So this is a happy day. This is November 18th. This day will live in infamy. And then the icing on top of the cake is that they're going to start DeVito instead of Locke. There's a problem with that. I mean, I'm glad he is starting instead of Locke, but you paid Locke $5 million. Why did you pay him that if you're not going to use him? And he was your backup the whole time, backup quarterback, and you're not going to use him. And, you know, I hear a lot that these are all football decisions, but I got to think it's a little bit accounting situations too. Like, Drew Locke's got a bunch of incentives, and if he meets all these incentives, we'll have to pay him, they'll have to pay him another couple $1 million. So I think that has something to do with it. And definitely Jones's injury clause has something to do with it, even though Jones played horrible, and that was why he really should have been benched.
Hey, look, Charlie, by the way, you're right. People will say this is all because of the injury clause, but if he was playing well, he would be in there. So,
yeah. Oh, I agree. I agree.
Well, you'd like to believe if he was playing well, the Giants would have more wins, and they'd still be somewhat in the periphery of the conversation, and then you wouldn't even think about making a change.
Right.
But everything about this Lincoln log cabin has kind of imploded. And right now, this is what happens.
But why did it take 5.5 years to see this guy wasn't it? I mean, it was so obvious. I mean, he won one playoff game, and that's what you put everything on. Blake Bortles won one playoff game, too, and he was gone the year after that. So,
Blake Bortles got paid too, Charlie.
Yeah, I did. Not as much as Jones, that's for sure.
Well, inflation.
But look, it's a good day. It's a good day. It should be a happy day for every Giant fan. We can move on, and if DeVito can be... Look, he's the only developmental quarterback on the roster, right? So you got to play him. You got to see if he's gotten better than last year. And can he be a backup for you next year, or even a transitional starter until you bring in your, rookie quarterback?
Well, Charlie, by the way, and I think you just hit it. I think that's the answer, right? For why it's DeVito instead of Locke to go here, right?
Charlie, you just made a whole lot of sense.
If Jones got hurt in week 2 or 3, there might be Drew Lock, right? But this is a different situation in week 11. You know what I mean? At 2-8.
Yeah.
Or week 12.
So, we got to get a rookie quarterback. They can't just hedge it. Like last year, they kind of hedged it. Well, we can't quite get our guy. We don't want to give all this up, but we still got Daniel.
Well, no, Charlie, Charlie, they tried to give up a lot for a quarterback. We all saw it on TV. They tried, and they just did not think...
I never heard what they wanted to give up.
Well, I mean, clearly they didn't want that out there, to have it out there. But, it was pretty clear on the phone call that we all heard that it really didn't matter what they were going to be willing to give up. The Patriots were not going to move down, and the Giants clearly did not think well enough of the other quarterbacks in the draft class to be... whatever they thought of Daniel Jones, whatever they thought it said.
And Charlie, if I may
interrupt... in fairness, we don't know anything about Michael Penix. We don't know anything about J.J. McCarthy.
No.
And I'm not... And me personally... and by the way, I know Paul is. I'm not completely sold on Bo Nix yet either. So that's just me.
But I think the other thing to say is that the Giants did try to explore all of their options. Joe Shane admitted that sometimes you bring in a free agent and it's just not a good fit for whatever the reason is.
And they also tried to pay Tyrod Taylor.
And they tried to bring him back. They reportedly met with Russell Wilson, but there was no fit from the free agent's perspective, and so he went on to Pittsburgh. So the Giants did exhaust a number of avenues here to make sure that they had their ducks in order.
Yeah, well, I don't know if they really exhausted Russell Wilson. I think Russell Wilson wanted to be able to start.
Yeah, correct. Right. It was not a fit because he wanted, I'm assuming this, and you could assume this based on the way it played out, he wanted a really good opportunity to earn the starting job, and he felt he was going to have a better chance beating out Justin Fields than he would beating out Daniel Jones.
Look, I'll put it very simply, Charlie. I think Russell Wilson wanted it to be his job to lose, and that was the situation they had in Pittsburgh. If he came here, it would have been Daniel Jones' job to lose.
Right.
Yeah, and so that was a mistake. Jones lost the job, pretty much, right?
Yeah,
so
but Charlie, look, in retrospect, sure. Is this team winning a Super Bowl or winning playoff games with Russell Wilson as their quarterback?
Probably not. No, because I think
exactly.
So,
but that's the thing. So if you invested this contract in a quarterback like Daniel Jones, after last year I'm throwing out because I don't think anyone would have had a chance to succeed in that situation.
No.
So you want to give him a realistic chance to succeed, and you don't do that by bringing in a guy like Russell Wilson, who's 36 years old. Russell Wilson, 37 years old, whatever he is.
Might be 37.
You don't bring him in to be your starter, and then you still don't have any answers from Jones. So that to me never made a whole lot of sense to me, to be honest with you.
Yeah. Well, no, Wilson's in the best situation in Pittsburgh.
100%.
That was the best place for him
Absolutely.
to go. 100%. But, like I'm saying, it's like we can't stop the run anyway. And I don't know how that's possible that we can't stop the run at all. I mean, we're worse than under Wink, for God's sake. But at least Wink got some turnovers. We can't even do that. And, Bowden's got to change his scheme up. Either his players can't play in his scheme, which it seems like, or you got to put like 6, 7 guys in the box and just say, we're going to stop the run. And good luck on the outside because this ain't working. He's got to change it up. He can't stick with a scheme that's not working. That's what I hate about these coordinators and coaches. They stick with whatever, they got their, tablets from Mount Sinai and they go with it even though it's imploding, It's just like, come on, man, you got to change it up.
All right, Charlie.
Something different.
Appreciate the call, my friend. Appreciate the call.
Guys.
Hey, but look,
Bye-bye.
And that was a reasonable call from Charlie. And I think, to his point, it's not just the quarterback. And I think that's what he got to at the end of the call there. And I'm going to give you this number now. I'm not going to get into my whole shtick here, but I'll give you this. For those of you that listened to Big Blue Kickoff Saturday with Marash and I gave the stat. So I went back, Paul, and I've said this on our show, on our post-game show before. The Giants have won the turnover battle in any game this year. They've been even or negative in every individual game this year. All right? So I went back to 2013 when things started going bad here. I could not find another 10-game streak where they had 10 straight games where they did not win the turnover battle. So I said, all right, I'm going to send an email. We have a stat service that we can send questions to, and they can look things up.
Okay.
They looked up what the longest Giant consecutive game streak, even or worse turnover differential was. They only have stats going back to 1950. Okay?
Well, that's fair enough.
So I'm not
That's
counting.
a long time.
I'm not counting going from 1 year to the next because I feel like it has to be within
Bridge
one
years
game.
are not.
I don't like the
you
bridge
can't
years.
use bridge years. Yes.
Did you know this is the longest streak in the history of the New York Football Giants of going 10 games without winning the turnover battle?
Wow.
75 seasons in that research folder. Longest single game streak of all time for the New York Football Giants.
Without winning the turnover battle. That's not including when it was 0.
In any individual.
Right.
Yeah. So if you're even or negative for 10 straight games, longest in the history of the franchise, 75 seasons.
That's ridiculous.
It only goes back to 1950, their stats, in order to check that.
Well,
and by the way, I'm going to give you another part of it real quick.
Yeah.
Real quick. So the Giants are 2-8 in the streak, right?
Okay.
They had a 9-game streak in 1976.
Oh, and that wasn't going to turn out well.
0-9.
Mm-hmm.
They had an 8-game streak in 1973.
That was also not a good year.
0-7-1.
Mm-hmm.
They had an 8-game streak in 2003.
Also a poor year.
0-8. 1979, they had a 7-game streak.
Another terrible season.
2-5. 1983, a 7-game streak.
Another really bad season.
0-6-1 during that 7-game streak.
Boy, are you noticing a coincidence here?
No, it's not a coincidence. It's a pattern.
Yes, sir.
That's the point. So when I say it's not just the quarterback, and look, does the quarterback have something to do with turnover ratio? Because they're the ones turning the ball over sometimes? Absolutely. Daniel Jones had 2 red zone interceptions against the Carolina Panthers. Can't have that, okay?
Mm-hmm.
But until that gets fixed, all right, until that gets fixed, who the quarterback is ain't going to matter. The defense has 8 takeaways this year, 7 fumble recoveries, and 1 interception, which happened in week 1.
A tip ball.
That's got to get better.
Yeah.
And by the way, across seasons, the longest streak was still only 10, so it's tied if you count across season.
Oh, man. Well, my favorite number, and your takeaway one has been alive for a few weeks now. You've been all over that one. My takeaway number is the scoring zone. 30 yards are in. The Giants have 27 times they've scored on 42 times from the 30 or in. Not the red zone, but the 30 or in. Remember, folks, for those of you who have not heard me say the scoring zone is 30 yards or in because I believe that a 47, 48-yard field goal is virtually automatic in the NFL these days. So the Giants have scored 27 times on 42 trips to the 30 or in. That's only 64% of the time they've put up points on the board, which means 36% of the time they've come up with nothing. Think about that, John. This is not a touchdown percentage. When you see red zone percentage on the stat websites or in the papers, or they talk about it on the air, they're talking about touchdown percentage. Okay? They're not talking about scoring percentage. I'm taking it a step further. I'm not even talking touchdown percentage. I'm talking when you come away with at least points. Giants with only 27 times on 42 times to the team's 30 or in. 64%. Folks, that number is like a drought.
And even, Paul, if you go inside the 20, they have a 71% scoring rate. That means on 30% of their red zone trips, they come away with 0 points.
And that's a difference of only 10 yards, and you're subtracting another 7% on the efficiency.
It's brutal. And look,
Okay.
they have 7 red zone turnovers. All right?
Yep.
And
Which
they
is
have
the same.
3 touchdowns taken off the board due to penalties. You want to know why you're the lowest scoring team in the league?
Well, there you go.
That's your answer. Anyway, I don't want to get too far into that. You guys don't want to talk about the quarterback stuff.
No, I know.
But Charlie brought up.
I wanted to bring that up because
Right.
to me, it's the other huge stat that's just it's bleeding out.
And then the other one that Charlie brought up is those are the top 3 things that the Giants have to improve on in the last 7 games of the year we're at, right? Red zone scoring or scoring zone scoring, however you want to look at it.
Right.
Turnover margin.
Yep.
And stop the run on defense. Those are the 3 things.
3 things.
And by the way, I will throw in a 4th one: more explosive plays on offense, because they still don't have enough of those. Those are my 4.
You fix the other 3, you got a chance to survive
Right.
that one.
Well, but if you're going to be bad in the scoring zone, you got to at least score from outside the scoring zone.
and
then.
that's something
They aren't doing that either.
We've had that conversation philosophically a while ago too.
They're actually doing well on the explosive running plays now, but they still don't have the explosive passing plays. which is
Tracy's
the
helping
problem.
them out
no,
with that.
Yeah, 100%. All right, let's go to Maurice in Montclair. Maurice, what's up?
Hey, what's going on, gentlemen? How we doing?
We're doing
Hi.
great, Maurice. What's up?
All right, so I got like a different type of question, and Paul, I'm going to lean on you for what I'm about to ask, and I just want like someone to give me the right answer in terms of this, and I got something for you too, John.
Sure. What do you got?
Paul, no one around me is able to tell me what the Ray Handley era was like. I'm not here to talk about Jones and none of that. Like, I like doing Giants history and learning it. Now, what did he do well to earn him that job, and what made it so poor that he just got sent out of the building
Good question.
that quick?
I will simplify this. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Hold on. Oh, yeah, real quick. And for you, John, and I love the work you do, John. Can you please tell me, John, if you can, how many coin tosses have Daboll put his offense out there or deferred to his defense? I just want to see where his mind is at in terms of, like, how he's going to address, like, oh, are we confident in our offense? Let's go out there. We want to toss? Come on, offense, let's go. Or is it like, no, defense, you go set the tones then, let's just see what the offense does.
I will
Is
look
there
that up
any,
for you,
like-
Maurice.
Okay. I
All right,
appreciate
and-
you guys. Have a good one.
Hey, you too, Maurice.
All right,
Appreciate
Maurice.
the call.
In terms of Ray Handley, the reason that he got promoted and wound up being the coach after Bill Parcells was because George Young, the general manager at the time, was impressed with Ray Handley's football acumen, and quite frankly, he was almost like a Mensa. He was an incredibly smart guy. He was the Giants running back coach at the time, and he was also the not coordinator. He was the guy who used to keep track of the time for Coach Parcells.
Game management?
Game management, yes, in terms of timing. Okay? So George was very impressed with him. He was also impressed with his business-like demeanor. He was very robotic, didn't get too involved in emotion, and he was very cut and dry. This is the way it is. So that's why it was him who got the job. Why did it fail? Well, quite frankly, he didn't have the people skills. And it wasn't just about the media or the fans. It was the guys in the locker room. They had a hard time really dealing with him. He just was not a very good people person. And guys, football's a hard game, physically and mentally and emotionally as well, but mostly physically. And if you can't get the respect of your players and you can't command their professionalism, it's very, very hard for them to put their bodies on the line, beat themselves up brutally, and follow everything in unison behind you. And so Ray Handley, in short, was not a good leader. And that's probably the best answer, the most simplistic answer I can give you. There are a ton of tentacles inside that I'm not going to get into, but he was not, as it turned out, very smart, very businesslike, but not a good leader. And you do need somebody who has some leadership and people skills to be a head coach in the NFL.
I do not have coin toss data. I just tried to find it. I don't have it. As far as I could find it.
I don't know who has.
I don't know if they do, but I will
somebody?
say this. Off the top of my head, the large majority of the times the Giants have won the toss, they've deferred. There's been maybe one or two where they've chosen to receive, but it's
very rarely.
You're
Very
looking. I think
rarely.
you're looking at 80 to 90. I think you're probably looking at 90%.
But this
defer
goes back
rate.
several coaches, John.
Yeah, absolutely, for sure.
This is not just a Daboll thing. Parcells was a guy who used to want to play the field conditions or play the individual matchups more so than just going with the math. It was first Bill Belichick, when he was with New England, who had done the mathematical computations over several years. And what he found out is that teams that defer the possession at the opening kickoff win games 52% of the time. And so that's why Belichick began the trend in the NFL of we're going to defer, because that extra 2% was deemed to be very valuable. Well, then coaches around the league, well, it's a copycat league. Belichick says this is mathematically correct. Let's everybody do it. Well, I'm not one who believes in that. I believe more in the Parcells system. You have to go with the field, the weather conditions, the individual matchups. Do I want my offense on the field first so that maybe that's our big advantage and let's get out to a lead right away? I don't necessarily want to play with the black and white numbers. So I appreciate that question too, John. It's a good question, but it's because of Belichick's innovation to create that trend that everybody seems to go with it.
Let's go to Chris in North Carolina. He's up next. Hey, Chris.
Hey, John. How you doing?
What's up?
Hey, I respectfully apologize. My speaker system got messed up in my house, and I apologize.
No, Chris, no worries. What do you got, man? Make your point. We're here for you. Go ahead.
And so this is for the both of you guys.
Yes.
Okay, so we do have the right head coach, and I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why we have the right head coach. Because he was an outstanding play caller in Buffalo, and he turned around Josh Allen, number 17.
We're listening.
And I have to tell you, in 2019, my favorite quarterback of all time, and I'm telling you, you can go up into my house, into my foyer, and you can see Eli Manning's plaques on the wall.
Mm-hmm.
He was just amazing. The things that he did was just incredible.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll have to tell you, in 2019, if we had our head coach that we have now, we would have our quarterback of the future. And I'll tell you why. Because in that year, we traded up with the Bears, and the Bears took our 11th pick. And this quarterback has all the tools that Josh Allen has right now. But he needs the play caller to make him the quarterback he can be in the NFL. As you know, the Giants have a high draft pick, and we probably will draft a quarterback. But my feeling is Justin Fields, I believe, is a free agent next year. The Giants can have the best of both worlds.
So you want the Giants to make a deal for Justin Fields?
Well, I wouldn't make a deal. I think you could probably just sign him as a free agent.
Well, I mean make a deal.
Oh, I got you.
Sign him. You want the Giants to make a deal to get him.
Correct.
Well,
I just think the Giants can still be, I think the Giants could be competitive next year and beyond. Because don't forget now, he's being trained now by Russell Wilson with all that experience from the Super Bowl. And the young quarterback that they're going to probably draft in the draft, they're going to be able to have him to watch Justin Fields.
well, Fields will be 26.
If you think about it logically, he has all the tools Josh Allen has. But he just needs that play caller. Because I watch all the Giants games very closely, and there's the receivers open. He just can't. Jones just couldn't process the field.
Well, in fairness, Chris, that has also been an issue in Justin Fields' career as well.
Mm-hmm.
Him and Daniel are actually somewhat similar, to be honest with you, in their skill sets.
I think that's more of a
But he never had
comparison
the-
than putting him with Josh Allen. I don't see Fields being Josh Allen. But I will tell you,
Okay,
at 26 next year, he's still on the younger side where you might still have room to develop
Yeah, Chris,
him.
I agree with you.
That's possible.
I don't think you just have to draft someone and then be done with it. If you want to do a combo to try to give yourself some backup here, bring in a guy like Fields in the offseason and then draft someone on top of that, I would have no problem with that.
But he never had a play caller like Brian Daboll. Brian Daboll can teach a quarterback. Look what he did with DeVito last year, got him 3-1. I'm just saying. I believe Justin Fields is the answer for the Giants. That's my feeling.
No,
You guys have your own opinion. Everybody else has their own.
No,
but
Chris,
my
that's
opinion.
great. No, it's fantastic. And you know what? A lot of Giant fans that appreciate the call were big fans of Fields. They were, and that was a conversation that we had with fans over the course of last year. Good call. Appreciate it.
Now, just as a matter of economics, I don't know when Justin Fields is a free agent, just from a business perspective, what kind of number he's going to ask for, John. We have no idea.
No idea.
But just for the sake of economics,
I
this
can't
year,
imagine he's going to make a ton.
he's only at $3.2 million this year.
Oh, there's rookie contracts, though.
Correct.
Still his rookie deal.
Correct. So he hasn't put aside a big chest of gold bullion to where he can necessarily say, I'm going to come in cheap, but he also hasn't got a resume that can command a huge number.
Yeah, but I think you could have a decent amount of teams with quarterback needs next year. And again, I don't want to kind of get into this whole thing here, but let me at least bring up the NFL standings real quick. And just so I can have all the teams in front of me so I can see which teams I think could be in the business for a quarterback next year, and we kind of go through them really quickly. All right, I'll start with the AFC, so I'll just go through team by team. The Bills are set. Dolphins have 2 long-term. Patriots are good. Jets are 1. You know what? I say it. The Steelers are 8 and 2, but like Russell Wilson's not a long-term answer there, so I still think they're in the quarterback conversation. And I do think it is telling, Paul, that how much better did the Steelers offense get when they slid Russell Wilson in there for Justin Fields?
I know.
Significantly
It's Dolby
better.
Stereo.
We have done these shows together before, believe it or
Yes.
not. So you have the Steelers. The Browns will certainly be in the quarterback business this offseason, right? The Tennessee Titans likely will be in the quarterback business this offseason. I think the Colts will give Anthony Richardson another year. I don't think they're ready to punt on that experiment yet. The Las Vegas Raiders will almost certainly be in the quarterback business this offseason. We'll see about the Giants, but I'll count them in this exercise for 6. The North is all good. The South, the Saints will certainly be in there. That's 7. The Panthers will certainly be in there. That's 8. And then in the NFC West, not really unless Stafford retires. So figure around 8 teams will be trying to secure their quarterback of the future next offseason. It's a lot. It's a lot of quarterback holes to fill.
Just for laughs and giggles, Spot Rack, which is one of the salary cap sites on the web, they're estimating that Justin Fields would command a market value average annual salary of a little over $9 million.
Well, I mean, if I'm his agent, doing what I go around saying, well, what did the Raiders give Gardner Minshew last year? And I think he got like 15, right?
I don't think you're far off. I'm sure that's what he'll try to do.
Yeah, and there's enough teams that are competing. Sam Darnold's another quarterback that could be available next year, by the way. But
I'm looking at the current list on Spot Rack, and it's not exactly the kind of list that's going to excite you.
And it's not a super rich, like, for example, we're going to have Dane Brugler, by the way, on draft season tomorrow, just FYI. So make sure you tune into that. We're going to talk about the quarterback class just because he just released his top 50 of his top 50 prospects, Paul. Have you looked at that at all or no?
I have not.
All right, hold on. I'm going to ask, and we will get to the final call here as we be patient here. So I'm going to bring up his top 50, Paul. What number do you think the first quarterback came in on in his top 50?
Well, Dane Brugler's usually conservative. He doesn't get tied up with a lot of hype.
No, Dane's good.
So
Dane's the best.
I would think it would not shock me if his top quarterback is like 12.
You're darn close. I believe his top quarterback was, I'm double checking, was 16.
Even lower.
Cam Ward. Where do you think the next quarterback is after Cam Ward at 16? They're 2 back-to-back. I'll give you that.
I was going to say it might be all the way down 28, 29.
22, 23.
Okay.
Jalen Milroe, who is, you want to compare someone to Josh Allen from a physical perspective?
Right.
That's Jalen Milroe. He is a freaking athletic marvel. And then Shedeur Sanders back-to-back at 22 and 23. And then he has, I believe, Garrett Nussmeier at number 30 on this list. So
I'm a big fan of Dane because he doesn't get involved in hype. He doesn't let hype alter his stuff.
No, not at all.
He's very, very focused on, hey, this is what I see, and I'm sticking with it.
And he also,
no matter what people say.
He also gets really good input from what teams are thinking about these guys too, which he kind of puts into his equation as well. So, and again, draft season, we're going to record that tomorrow. That'll probably air on Wednesday, I think, this week. So make sure you go check that out. David in North Carolina will wrap us up today. Hi, David.
Hey guys, how you doing?
We're good, man. What's up?
Oh man, I think my biggest about this current regime and just the organization in terms of our struggles, over the last few regimes is it's never a good thing when the fans and the pundits and the talking heads seem to be right more than they're wrong, and I think that's what makes me sad about the Giants right now is I want it to be hey, that the pundits are wrong, and I wanted to wait and see because I saw what a great athlete Daniel Jones was, but it looks like the pundits and the talking heads about, hey, this guy doesn't read the field well, he's a slow processor. It looks like they were right and I was wrong, and the Giants were wrong, and you kind of see it happen over and over again. Josh Azuda, why is this guy even trying to be a left tackle? And the pundits said, hey, he shouldn't be. And they were right. And I know some of that is also Evan Neal being hurt, and there's a lot of circumstances there, that we don't have to get into. But the one thing that I didn't like about the Joe Shane press conference the other day was, hey, we're in a lot of these games, we're close. We just got to figure out a way to win in the fourth quarter. I didn't take that as a good thing. I think as an organization, if you're not in those games in the fourth quarter, it's a pretty bad omen and it's a bit bad signs of things, of what's going on. So,
of course.
That didn't comfort me too well that, that was one of the things he pointed out.
Well,
there.
David, but I think the point is, for example, look at the Jaguars. They got absolutely obliterated by the Detroit Lions yesterday. Mm-hmm. Look at a team like the Las Vegas Raiders. They haven't been in a lot of games. The Saints happened to win yesterday, but they have not been in a lot of games in the past 4 or 5 weeks. They've gotten blown out in a lot of these games. So there are other teams that have the same number of wins as the Giants do. And again, this is all,
Well, there are 9 teams in the league that have 3 wins or less this morning.
Right.
9.
And again, this is all lipstick on a pig stuff. I get that. The record is the record. It is what it is. But I think other teams that are in that 2-win kind of grouping that the Giants are in, even a team like the Cowboys who have 3 wins. I mean, how many games have the Cowboys just been absolutely run off the field in the first halves of games this year? And again, this is little solace because Giant fans are sitting here at 2-8 and nobody cares. I get that. Mm-hmm. But when you evaluate where the team is, you have to look at it in a total picture. They are not being outclassed week in, week out, I think is the point that Joe Shane was trying to make.
And David, just one thing about Daniel Jones in terms of the pundits and stuff. I don't think there's any doubt that the beating he took last year and then having to come back from the torn ACL, you could put however value you want onto that, but he does not look like the same player right now that he was in 2022. And as John and I said earlier, he had to build off of that. That's the guy that they were taking a chance on. That's the guy that they re-signed with the anticipation that that was going to be his floor. But
again, not floor, not ceiling. If he would have just repeated 2022, that wouldn't have been good enough. He needed to continue to get better from there.
That's why they renewed, because they felt, okay, that's the good starting point, and with Coach Daboll here, they're going to build on that.
Yeah, so the pundits, in a way, we kind of knew that, that was an issue that he had, but we thought that could improve with a better situation around him, and
now,
it hasn't.
Last year's situation was horrible, and then he goes and gets hurt with a mega serious injury. And coming back this year, none of that stuff, even from 22, has truly returned. So it's almost like he got set back. Like when you play Monopoly and it says go back to start. He almost got set back and had to go back a few places on the board. So, pundits can revel all they want in saying, well, we knew that Daniel Jones wasn't going to be the guy. But the circumstances about him significantly changed.
One of those pundits are calling you right now.
I know. Hello, sorry, not going to talk now. And that's really what it comes down to, right? It comes down to circumstances changed, and Daniel Jones was not swimming in the same pool as he was 2.5 years ago.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, there's a ton of circumstances, unfortunately, that a lot of times play into these things that to your point, the pundits don't want to look at or take into account, and sometimes we don't get the benefit of being able to take those things into account, unfortunately.
David, anything else for us before we say goodbye, my man?
No, I'll let you guys go. I appreciate what you do, and you thank you for your time.
Well, I appreciate you
Thanks,
guys
David.
calling to listen, man. We really do. Good job today, everybody. I thought it was a good, productive conversation. I thought we had good talk about everything that's going down. We'll be back with you again tomorrow at 12:30. It'll be Sitek and I. Then O'Hara and Madeline will be with you on Wednesday at 12:30. Me and Sitek Thursday, Paul and Sitek on Friday. So stay tuned. We'll be with you. And, of course, I mentioned draft season's coming up on Wednesday on the Draft Season podcast platform. We'll have Dan Brugler on. And either this afternoon or tomorrow morning, we'll have Chris Bizignano from Giants Insider who'll join me on the Giants Huddle podcast to talk about this decision and what is next. For Paul Dottino, I'm John Schmeelk. That's Big Blue Kickoff Live presented by Cadillac, the official luxury vehicle of the Giants. Paul, enjoy your week. We'll see you on
You too,
Friday.
guys. We'll see you.
Adios.